They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
Good morning. Welcome to Crazy Joe's Concession Stand. I'm Crazy Joe, and today I have a review for you of a movie that is playing 2 nights only in theaters, and this is getting to you just in time that you can catch the second night if you haven't seen it the first night. I was there Saturday the 21st, but it's also playing on Wednesday the 25th. So if you missed it on the 21st, you got one more chance to catch it on the big screen. I'm sure this is going to be on HBO Max soon, or just Max. The first film from James Gunn's new DC Studios label has had its premiere. It's a Fathom event. That's why it's 2 nights only. But Saturday night in theaters across America, we got to see the DC Studios logo on the big screen for the first time ever, and it is on one heck of a film. If you're going to debut a new studio, you couldn't have picked a better film to start with. Documentary called Superman, and that's super/man, separating the two. Superman. The Christopher Reeve Story. This is a documentary about the life of Christopher Reeve, the man who so many of us grew up with as Superman. He was not the first actor to play Superman. That would be Kirk Allen in the original serials. Then George Reeves picked up the role on television. But for many of us, he was the first Superman we ever saw, possibly before we even saw the comics. He played Superman in 4 movies, and he really personified the role. But what's really impressive about Christopher Reeve is that he went from just being an actor to being a true hero. He, in 1995, suffered a life-changing injury on the back of a horse. He fell off a horse during a horse riding competition, and he was in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Really not even just unable to walk, but completely paralyzed. Barely any movement in his arms, trouble breathing. He had a respirator. He really had a challenging life, and he didn't just sit back in his wheelchair and feel sorry for himself. He really used his life and his celebrity to push for more research into spinal cord injuries. He did a lot of charitable work. He was just visible, showing people, hey, there's people out there who have these conditions, and it's not, these people shouldn't be ignored. And and it was powerful. The symbolism of Superman, of all people, Superman being the one to fight for this, it really meant something. This documentary is very well done. It kind of very early on, they, get into the accident, and they kind of use that as a framing device because, we get to see Christopher Reeve we get to hear him in his own words. I don't know. Christopher Reeve obviously passed away over a decade ago, so I'm not sure when a lot of the dialogue was recorded, but there's a lot of recorded dialogue of him kind of reflecting. I don't know, did he write an autobiography? Maybe that's where this comes from. But he kind of reflects back, and we see him, kind of have his accident, and then he starts thinking back on his career. And it kind of goes back and forth from Christopher Reeve, the man who's fighting for more funding for spinal cord injuries, the man who's fighting to make disabled people more visible in our society, that guy, to the guy who's starting these movies. And we kind of go back and forth. It's a very, very humanizing image of this guy, and he's really to be admired. He's not just Christopher Reeve. This documentary also really shines a light on his wife, who sadly passed away 1 year after him, Dana Reeve, because Dana Reeve she was a young woman. She was like in her 30s, I think. And her husband has this debilitating accident, and she spent the next 10 years of her life taking care of him. Then he dies, and she tried for the last year of her life advancing the Christopher Reeve Foundation and being a visible spokesman in his place before she she died of lung cancer. So it's a pretty tragic story. It's very sad. Bring your tissues, you're gonna need them. But Christopher Reeve was a very admirable man. You watch his story unfold and you're like, this wasn't just some Hollywood actor. Maybe he started out that way. Maybe he was just some Hollywood actor, but circumstances thrust him into a direction where he became something greater. He went from being a hero on the screen as Superman to being a legitimate hero. And he did a lot of good in helping raise money for these conditions, these spinal cord conditions. And there's people who are better off today because of the work he did. And I can't recommend this enough. If you grew up if you're Gen X and you grew up watching the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, we all know a little about Christopher Reeve. My generation, at least. I don't know about the younger kids, but my generation, we all grew up with Christopher Reeve. We know a little bit about him. But I guarantee this documentary is going to teach you things about him that you didn't know. It certainly taught me things I didn't know. And it's really good. And this documentary was made independently of Warner Brothers. Played at a film festival. James Gunn saw it and was like, that needs to be released by Warner Brothers. That needs to be released under the DC Studios banner. And what a debut for DC Studios. It's they come out swinging with a movie this fantastic. And it really is fantastic. Check it out on the big screen if you can. You got one more day, Wednesday the 25th. I recommend this. 4 stars out of 5. This is a very good documentary. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. It's worth seeing on the big screen. If you can't see it on the big screen, and I get it, when it's only playing for a couple nights, we have schedules. The kids have to get to their soccer practice or whatever it is, and maybe you got to work late. Things happen. Things happen that are going to keep you from getting to the theater when it's only a one night only thing. If you've got a wide release like Beetlejuice, and it's out there day after day after day, week after week, it's a different story than one of these Fathom events that it's like 2 nights only. That's it. You get 2 nights. So it's conceivable that most people probably are not going to get to see this on the big screen. But when you can, when it comes home, definitely give this a watch. It's worth your time. Highly recommended. Great movie. All right, everybody. Until next time, keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open it, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander pajamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. I know we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.